Hello, hello. So we're going to continue my Kybalion series here. I'll be reading directly from the Kybalion and providing my commentary throughout. The chapter we're going to be looking into today is entitled The All in All. I did a video a couple days ago on the all, talking about how the all encompasses the known universe, time, everything that exists. And you can go back and watch that video. I'm not going to rehash it, but this takes it a step further. As I say in a lot of my videos, you are very truly God. We all are. And this chapter really dives into that concept, explaining how the all, the macro, is in all, the micro. So let's go ahead and dive right in, and throughout I'll provide my commentary. Chapter 7, the all in all. While all is in the all, it is equally true that the all is in all. To him who truly understands this truth has come great knowledge, the Kybalion. How often have the majority of people heard repeated the statement that their deity, called by many names, was all in all? And how little have they suspected the inner occult truth concealed by these carelessly uttered words? The commonly used expression is a survival of the ancient Hermetic maxim quoted above. As the Kybalion says, to him who truly understands this truth hath come great knowledge. And this being so, let us seek this truth, the understanding of which means so much. In this statement of truth, this Hermetic maxim, is concealed one of the greatest philosophical, scientific, and religious truths. We have given you the Hermetic teaching regarding the mental nature of the universe, the truth that the universe is mental, held in the mind of the all. As the Kybalion says in the passage quoted above, all is in the all. But note also the correlated statement that it is equally true that the all is in all. This apparently contradictory statement is reconcilable under the law of paradox. It is, moreover, an exact Hermetic statement of the relations existing between the all and its mental universe. We have seen how all is in the all. Now let us examine the other aspect of the subject. The Hermetic teachings are to the effect that the all is immanent in, remaining within, inherent, abiding within, its universe, and in every part, particle, unit, or combination within the universe. This statement is usually illustrated by the teachers by a reference to the principle of correspondence. The teacher instructs the student to form a mental image of something, a person, an idea, something having a mental form. The favorite example being that of the author of dramatist forming an idea of his characters, or a painter or sculptor forming an idea or forming an image of an ideal that he wishes to express by his art. In each case, the student will find that while the image has its existence in being solely within his own mind, yet he, the student, author, dramatist, painter, or sculptor, is in a sense immanent in, remaining within, or abiding within the mental image also. In other words, the entire virtue, life, spirit of reality in the mental image is derived from the immanent mind of the thinker. Consider this for a moment until the idea has been grasped. So they're talking about any person who's a creative and how whatever it is that they create and everything that you see around you is a result of someone's thought. And the point that they're trying to make here is that it being someone's thought, the form, doesn't make it any separate from that person with whom the thought is inherently linked. To take a modern example, let us say that Othello, Iago, Hamlet, Lear, Richard III existed merely in the mind of Shakespeare at the time of their conception or creation. And yet, Shakespeare also existed within each of these characters, giving them their vitality, spirit, and action. Whose is the spirit of the characters that we know as Micawber, Oliver Twist, Uriah Heep? Is it Dickens? Or have each of these characters a personal spirit independent of their creator? Have the Venus of Medici, the Sistine Madonna, the Apollo Belvedere spirits in reality of their own? Or do they represent the spiritual and mental power of their creators? The law of paradox explains that both propositions are true. Viewed from their proper viewpoints, Macabre is both macabre and yet Dickens. And again, while macabre may be said to be Dickens, yet Dickens is not identical with macabre. Man, like macabre, may exclaim, "The spirit of my creator is inherent within me, yet I am not he." How different this is from the shocking half-truths so voraciously announced by certain of the half-wise who filled the air with their raucous cries of, "I am God." Imagine poor Macabre, or the sneaky Uriah Heep, crying, "I am Dickens," or some of the lowly clods in one of Shakespeare's plays grandiloquently announcing that "I am Shakespeare." The all is in the earthworm, and yet the earthworm is far from being the all. And still, the wonder remains that though the earthworm exists merely as a lowly thing, created and yet having its being solely within the mind of the all, yet the all is immanent in the earthworm, and in the particles that go to make up the earthworm. Can there be any greater mystery than this of all in the all and the all in all? So let's take a moment to unpack that. It would be quite wild for a character that we create or for a sculpture that we create to proclaim itself to be us. At the same time, we know that the mind of man was not created equal to the mind of other lower life forms. We understand that there are certain frequencies that exist, like worms, birds, ants, the schools of fish, different things like that, that are all operating on a particular frequency. Meaning, a bird is a bird is a bird is operating under that bird frequency. A worm is a worm is a worm is operating under the worm frequency. Most animals are operating under that frequency that they're under, and the great thing about being human is that we are regulators for our mental state. We're regulators for our frequency. And what we're supposed to do is be able to recognize what mental state we're in and then change that, right? So in this, it's different for man to proclaim himself to be God, because in a very real way, you are God. You are the creator of your reality. And at any given point in time, you have the ability to make changes, drastic changes in your life, should you have the faith to back up the mental state that's required to produce that fruit. We'll get into that more. The student will, of course, realize that the illustrations given above are necessarily imperfect and inadequate, for they represent the creation of mental images in finite minds, while the universe is a creation of infinite mind, and a difference between the two poles separates them. And yet it is merely a matter of degree. The same principle is in operation. The principle of correspondence manifests in each, as above, so below, as below, so above. And in the degree that man realizes the existence of the indwelling spirit immanent within his being, so will he rise in the spiritual scale of life. This is what spiritual development means: the recognition, realization, and manifestation of the spirit within us. Try to remember this last definition, that of spiritual development. It contains the truth of true religion. There are many planes of being, many subplanes of life, while many degrees of existence in the universe, and all depend upon the advancement of beings in the scale, of which scale the lowest point is the grossest matter, the highest being separated only by the thinnest division from the spirit of the all. And upward and onward along this scale of life, everything is moving. All are on the path whose end is the all. All progress is a returning home. All is upward and onward. In spite of all seemingly contradictory appearances, such as the message of the illumined, the Hermetic teachings concerning this process of the mental creation of the universe are that at the beginning of the creative cycle, the all, in its aspect of being, projects its will toward its aspect of becoming, and the process of creation begins. It is taught that the process consists of the lowering of vibration until a very low degree of vibratory energy is reached, at which point the grossest possible form of matter is manifested. This process is called the stage of involution, in which the all becomes involved or wrapped up in its creation. The process is believed by the Hermetists to have a correspondence to the mental process of an artist, writer, or inventor who becomes so wrapped up in the mental creation as to almost forget his own existence, and who, for the time being, almost lives in his creation. If instead of wrapped, we use the word wrapped, and the spelling is different here. If instead of wrapped, WRAPPED, we use the word wrapped, RAPT, perhaps we will give a better idea of what is meant. So if we understand what they're talking about here, this process that the all uses to become us is projecting its will from a state of being towards a state of becoming. So if you look at my breakdown where I talk about the creation process and I break down the different days of creation, and I talk about how we mirror God in that when we create, there's a process that we can follow that's very similar to that. Now, I like to talk about that because as we're experiencing this distortion, getting back to that point where we're all, as the Kybalion is just talking about, everybody is on that path. We're in that state of becoming the all, growing more and more aware of the fact that the all exists within us. We are that, and we're every day in every way we're expressing more of what we really are, and that is the all. So it's saying that in the idea of us, so I believe it's day 4 where God creates the concept of man, the masculine and feminine portions of our mind being the conscious and subconscious portion of our mind. And I mentioned in there at the end of the days when the Sabbath begins, that's the point where God ceases from creating and begins to live in that creation, similar to you. When you declare your I am and you decide to walk in that, right? It's not you, you're no longer pretending a thing. You believe that you have received that thing that you've created, and you walking in it is a representation of your belief, to the point where you see things in this world. The things that you see in your mind are more real to you than the things that you see in this world, and this world has to conform to what it is that you've created, right? It's the same thing here. They're saying that the all becomes so involved, so wrapped up in the idea of being us, that the all dies to the fact that it's the all. We don't realize we are the all because the all is living as us so fully, so enraptured in this dream that we've created of good and evil, to the point where we look at the negative portion of us that exists, that has to exist because balance exists in everything, and we'll get to it all here. And we'll say, this can't be us. This can't, if we are within God, this can't be right. But we don't realize we can remove judgment from it and allow it to exist because it has to exist. Because as we're experiencing this distortion, rising back to our full awareness of who we are, we're going to see a lot of things play out, a lot of different arrangements of atoms that aren't the end of the world. It's just how things need to play out in order for us to ascend properly. This involuntary stage of creation is sometimes called the outpouring of the divine energy, just as the evolutionary state is called the indrawing. The extreme pole of the creative process is considered to be the furthest removed from the all, while the beginning of the evolutionary stage is regarded as the beginning of the return swing of the pendulum of rhythm, a coming home idea being held in all of the Hermetic teachings. The teachings are that during the outpouring, the vibrations become lower and lower until finally the urge ceases and the return swing begins. But there is this difference that while in the outpouring, the creative forces manifest compactly and as a whole. Yet from the beginning of the evolutionary or indrawing stage, there is manifested the law of individualization. That is, the tendency to separate into units of force, so that finally that which left the all as individualized energy returns to its source as countless, highly developed units of life, having risen higher and higher in the scale by means of physical, mental, and spiritual evolution. So let's pause there. In the earlier statement, before our last break, it mentioned, or before my last interjection, it mentioned that matter is the lowest degree of vibratory energy possible. And we can see how humanity is rising, almost like we're waking up from a deep sleep where we were doing some things that reflected, we were in a mental state that bared fruit of our lack of knowledge based on the low vibration that we were. And as our vibration is continually increasing, as we're getting more and more of this fourth density light, our vibration is raising, and we can't help but see that outpicture itself all over our world. We can't help but see that the mental state, the elevation of our vibration, has pushed us into a mental state that is creating like fruit. So this is talking about how each individual portion of God, no portion will be spared. So right now, as we're in this portion of rising back to an awareness of who we are as y'all, understanding our power and everything, it's easy to see someone who's traveling the path of service to self, and they're doing things and acting in a way that is different from a lot of us, because there's two paths that you can choose: service to self or service to others, and both paths lead to God. As you can see, all paths lead to God. And everything is about each individualized portion becoming a highly developed unit of life. This is a school, this is a teaching ground for our consciousness. And after this school, we go on to other schools of learning. It'll be completely different. Universe is completely different from here. Or if you haven't learned what you need to learn, you'll come right back here, but you won't feel bad about it. You may feel like some things familiar, like I felt like some things are familiar, some lessons are familiar. Intuition is kicked in at different times, telling me, okay, no, you did this before, you can do this time. And I've had almost like foresight about different things, but we can all do that. That's what this is about: developing all of the gifts that we have and understanding that we all live within this mind of God, and all things are possible because of that. And we're all one. We are all one. It doesn't mean that I'm any less individuated at this moment, but we're all one. Right now, sitting in my car making this video, I can feel you. When I'm doing this, I like it because I can feel you. And I don't even have many people watching my videos now, but I know that there's a connection beyond space and time. So I know there's a point where I'll be getting views, and you'll be watching this, and then you'll go back to this and you'll be like, oh, I feel something too. Yeah. We don't need to be in the same room or anything like that. It's not that. We're all connected, and time is not a barrier between that. And that's why when you're doing different meditations and different things like that, they can all have an effect. You can be affected by someone recording a meditation just as much as someone being in the room with you and leading you through a meditation. Although being in the room is a much deeper feel. All right, let's continue. The ancient Hermeticists used the word meditation in describing the process of the mental creation of the universe in the mind of the all. The word contemplation also being frequently employed. But the idea intended seems to be that of the employment of the divine attention. Attention is a word derived from the Latin root meaning to reach out, to stretch out, and so the act of attention is really a mental reaching out, extension of mental energy, so that the underlying idea is readily understood when we examine into the real meaning of attention. The Hermetic teachings regarding the process of evolution are that the all, having meditated upon the beginning of the creation, having thus established the material foundations of the universe, having thought it into existence, then gradually awaken or rouses from its meditation, and in doing so starts into manifestation the process of evolution on the material, mental, and spiritual planes, successively and in order. Thus, the upward movement begins, and all begins to move spiritward. Matter becomes less gross. The units spring into being. The combinations begin to form. Life appears and manifests in higher and higher forms, and mind becomes more and more in evidence. The vibrations constantly becoming higher. In short, the entire process of evolution in all its phases begins and proceeds according to the established laws of the indrawing process. All of this occupies aeons upon aeons of man's time, each aeon containing countless millions of years, and yet the illumined inform us that the entire creation, including involution and evolution of a universe, is but as the twinkle of the eye to the all. At the end of countless cycles of aeons of time, the all withdraws its attention, its contemplation and meditation of the universe, for the great work is finished, and all is withdrawn into the all from which it emerged. But mysteries of mysteries, the spirit of each soul is not annihilated, but infinitely expanded. The created and the creator are merged. Such is the report of the illumined. The above illustration of the meditation and subsequent awakening from meditation of the all is, of course, but an attempt of the teachers to describe the infinite process by a finite example. And yet, as above, or as below, so above, the difference is merely in the degree. And just as the all arouses itself from the meditation upon the universe, so does man, in time, cease from manifesting on the material plane and withdraws himself more and more into the indwelling spirit, which is indeed the divine ego. There is one more matter of which we desire to speak in this lesson, and that comes very near to an invasion of the metaphysical field of speculation, although our purpose is merely to show the futility of such speculation. We allude to the question which inevitably comes to the mind of all thinkers who have ventured to seek the truth. The question is, why does the all create universes? The question may be asked in different forms, but the above is the gist of the inquiry. Men have striven hard to answer this question, but still, there is no answer worthy of the name. Some have imagined that the all had something to gain by it, and this is absurd, for what could the all gain that it did not already possess? Others have sought the answer in the idea that the all wished something to love, and others that it created for pleasure or amusement, or because it was lonely, or to manifest its power. All puerile explanations and ideas belonging to the childish period of thought. So delicious. Pure greens. Others have sought to explain the mystery by assuming that the all found itself compelled to create, by reasons of its internal nature as creative instinct. This idea is in advance of the others, but its weak point lies in the idea that the all being compelled by anything, internal or external. If its internal nature or creative instinct compelled it to do anything, then the internal nature or creative instinct would be the absolute instead of the all. And so accordingly, that part of the proposition fails, and yet the all does create and manifest, and seems to find some kind of satisfaction in doing so. And it is difficult to escape the conclusion that in some infinite degree it must have what would correspond to an inner nature or creative instinct in man, with correspondingly infinite desire and will. It could not act unless it willed to act, and it would not will to act unless it desired to act, and it would not desire to act unless it obtained some satisfaction thereby. And all of these things would belong to an inner nature, and might be postulated as existing according to the law of correspondence. But still, we prefer to think of the all as acting entirely free from the influence, internal as well as external. That is the problem which lies at the root of difficulty, and the difficulty that lies at the root of the problem. So what they're questioning here, what they're pondering, going back and forward, is what sparked the all's desire to create? Why does the all create universes? What is this about? And we've been able to see that this universe is expanding. we know that there's a compression of it as well, but it seems to be capable of expanding infinitely. Maybe there's learning that's going on for this. I've heard theories that us learning is like food for the all. Our thoughts that we have about our experiences are act as like food, but you can believe that if you want or not. If I mean, that's up to you. Just a theory that I've heard, but that, to be honest with you, you can't deny that feeling that we all feel when you do something for someone for no reason at all. Or if you're service to self, you can't deny that feeling that you feel when you get your way. When somebody shows you love, essentially, and you get your way. And for people who are service to others, you can't deny that feeling that you get of just like elation and joy when you just do something for somebody. Not expecting anything in return either, just because you had the ability to do it. And you can't deny all of the good things that happen as a result of it, almost as if the universe is looking at you directly and smiling at you. It's like we're being nudged towards loving each other. And even people who are service to self, you can only be service to self for so long. At a certain point, it's moot. You've learned all you can on that path, and you return to love. So it's, you can see that there is a beauty behind the madness. We are being led somewhere. We are being led towards something. And it's love. Strictly speaking, there cannot be said to be any reason whatsoever for the all to act. For a reason implies a cause, and the all is above cause and effect, except when it wills to become a cause, and at which time the principle is set into motion. So you see, matter is unthinkable, just as the all is unknowable. Just as we say the all merely is, just so are compelled to say that the all acts because it acts. At the last, the all is all reason in itself, all law in itself, all action in itself. And it may be said truthfully that the all is its own reason, its own law, its own act, or still further, that the all in its reason, its act, is law, are one, all being names for the same thing. In the opinion of those who are giving you these present lessons, me, the answer is locked up in inner self of the all, along with its secretive being. The law of correspondence, in our opinion, reaches only to that aspect of the all which may be spoken of as the aspect of becoming. Back to that aspect as the aspect of being, in which all laws are lost in law. All principles merge into principle, and the all, principle, and being are identical, one and the same. Therefore, metaphysical speculation on this point is futile. We go into the matter here merely to show that we recognize the question, and also the absurdity of the ordinary answers of metaphysics and theology. In conclusion, it may be of interest to our students to learn that while some of the ancient and modern Hermetic teachers have rather inclined in the direction of applying the principles of correspondence to the question, with the result of the inner nature conclusion, still the legends have it that Hermes the Great, when asked this question by his advanced students, and Hermes is Thoth, the creator of the pyramids, answered them by pressing his lips tightly together and saying not a word, indicating there was no answer. By then he may have intended to apply the axiom of his philosophy that the lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding, believing that even his advanced student did not possess the understanding which entitled them to the teaching. At any rate, if Hermes possessed a secret, he failed to impart it. And so far as the world is concerned, the lips of Hermes are closed regarding it. And where the great Hermes hesitated to speak, what mortal may dare to teach? But remember that whatever be the answer to this problem, if indeed there be an answer, the truth remains that, while all is in the all, it is equally true that the all is in all. The teaching on this point is emphatic, and we may add the concluding words of the quotation. To him who truly understands this truth has come great knowledge. I'm going to say it one more time. While all is in the all, We are all within the mind of God. It is equally true that the all is in all. God is in everyone, in everything that you see. I love you. I want to see the fullest expression of you. This is a spark.